Venezuela's like uh, their economy is just fucked, and like their money is literally worth nothing, basically. And so these, I saw this thing. These Venezuelans are like literally playing RuneScape and farming RuneScape gold because the gold in RuneScape is like more stable than the Venezuelan dollar or like whatever their
Shit.
currency's called. So they're playing RuneScape and farming gold and then selling the gold for money.
It's like what happened to Germany when their money just tanked.
Yeah,
I think that's happening. What other country is that happening in right now?
I don't
I
even
think
know.
it was Venezuela, where it was like in the news a while ago, where their money's just literally worthless.
Yeah, they're also just in a complete state of disarray. Like children are starving, people are starving and dying because they don't have any money for anything and their money's worthless anyway. And like I forget if it was Venezuela, it might have been a different country, but I'm pretty sure it was Venezuela. Like they had some election that was coming up and then some tyrannical dude just stepped in and just like took all the power and now he owns everything and everything's fucked. So they gotta play
That
Rune.
happens.
Yeah,
They play RuneScape now.
yeah. They're just like it's like those giant Bitcoin farms in China, except it's just a RuneScape gold farm in Venezuela. Everyone's farming RuneScape gold.
You think they think that it's like an actual currency, like Bitcoin? They're just like, yeah, we'll farm this virtual gold
I
and we'll
mean,
sell it because it's worth something, unlike our money.
I mean that's basically how it works. I mean, technically it is a virtual currency as much as anything else because in the game it only serves the purpose in the game, but there are other websites that sell like a million. I looked it up. It was like a million gold in RuneScape sells for like 50 cents American. So it's like at that point it just is a currency. That's the exchange rate for it and it works better for them than going to like a job and making nothing.
Yeah, it's so weird how like the internet opens up all these things that no one would have predicted 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like just shit like that, where now we have currency that's based on the internet. It's traded over the internet, and we do most of our shopping now through that.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with everything just turning into cyberpunk dystopia.
I mean, everything's based on it. I just want us to like get our infrastructure up. I mean, we should be more worried about energy because
Mhm.
we're gonna have all these electronic like things cropping up, the Internet of Things, people using more. Like there was a thing where like they had a limit to how many IP addresses they could have.
Was it in some country?
No, it was
And
just in
where
the
was it?
world.
Oh,
There was like a limit to how many IP addresses they had,
yeah.
and they had to increase it because now there's just so many devices that all have IP addresses.
Yeah, it's like how many internet connected things do you have in your house? Especially like a house of four people, you'd have like smart TV, like everything is connected to the internet now. That makes sense how they would have to do that because it's like back when the internet was first cropping up, it's like yeah, we have this thing where we just assign each computer because that's all it was back then, you know, its little IP address. But now like 15 years later, it's like your fucking coffee cup has an IP address. Anything that like data corps can fucking connect to the internet, they will.
Yeah, it started out as just a computer for every couple households, and then everyone had a computer. Now most people have like probably three IP addresses between their phone. They have a desktop and a laptop.
Yeah,
Your Chromecast probably has an IP.
yeah, it would. I mean, that's how it works. Literally anything that's connected to the internet. So yeah, it's like I have my phone, laptop, desktop. My camera has Wi-Fi, so that would be it.
Does your
And
camera have IP?
yeah, it would, I guess. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And then like my headphones, Chromecast. It's probably more realistic that it's like four or five for the regular person.
Yeah, I mean, if not, it will be in like 5 years,
Yeah.
especially with Alexas, dude. I have like three of those
Alexas?
in my house. Yeah,
Oh yeah, your parents use that.
yeah, they're all about that. They're all about that. I
Yeah.
love it. Like Even my dad's like getting into smart homes, which smart homes, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
It just kind of started cropping up. Like a lot of people are going towards that now. It started with Alexa. It kind of opened the door to a lot of people, the concept of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so crazy how fast everything goes nowadays. The way that I'm guessing that it worked was like, I think the first in-home assistant type thing was either a Google Home or Alexa, like one or the other. But it was like, okay, we're putting out this thing, we're gonna try it, and it became insanely popular. And then it just like one thing led to the other. It's like if you have this assistant in your house, wouldn't it be cool if you can tell it to like turn the lights on or off? And then it's like before you can even realize it, you have your lights are controlled by the internet, and then like you can tell it to turn on the speaker that's connected to it and everything. It's like it's just crazy how fast it turned into you control everything with your Alexa or Google Home.
Mhm. There wasn't even like a point to it when it first started coming around. Like 5 years ago, even people wouldn't have been like, why would I have a switch that I can control with my voice?
Yeah.
Like, I'll just flip the switch. But now, like Alexas or Google Homes, people started thinking, oh, like this is actually a thing we can do. And now there's like, yeah, the smart switches you can have to like turn your computer off, unlock your door.
Mhm.
You can control it all from your phone.
Mhm.
I think that's like a really futuristic concept, and it's totally happening like right now. It's like just the beginning of having your whole home connected and everything's connected to the internet, and you can just walk into your house. Like you walk up to your door, it unlocks because your phone practically becomes like you
Yeah. Or like
because
your key
yeah,
for everything basically.
yeah, it's like your key. Like you use it to unlock your house. It has so many functionalities that you almost couldn't go without it anymore. Like your phone is starting because everyone has a phone. So people are developing apps and all these systems that you can use with it, especially smart homes.
Mhm.
They're just like, yeah, you always have your phone on you. So wouldn't it be cool if you just walk up to your door and it knows it's you because you have your phone? It's freaking
Yeah.
crazy. That's just totally next level to me.
Yeah. You can do like I think it's the Nest you do it with, the little thermostat thing. You can like set the time. Like I mean, I guess you could do this on any regular thermostat if they just added the functionality. But you can be like, okay, no one's at my house. Like say you live alone in an apartment or whatever. It's like no one's there. I don't have any pets, whatever, until I get home from work at like 5. So just turn the AC off or the heat or whatever, and then turn it on at like 4:30 so it has time to warm back up or whatever by the time I get home. It's just a lot of things that it's a lot of little things that just get added in that just make our lives so easy. It's like it's crazy that people nowadays complain about like, oh, I wish I could control my thermostat from my phone when it's like 200, 300 years ago. It's like people were dying to fucking rats. Like that was the thing that they had to worry about. And now it's like, oh, I can't tell my Alexa to, turn the lights on or off.
It's just it's weird. It's like the Apple mindset where we have to develop something that they don't even know they want.
Yeah.
But when they see it, they're going to be like, "Oh my god, I need that. Like, how am I supposed to live without that?"
Yeah.
Hmm.
On Apple, yeah, they do that. Like the thing that I think best showcases their mindset of doing things like that right now is like the new MacBook Pro that just came out. It's got the 4 USB-C ports and that's it. And everyone is saying like, please just give us an SD card slot. Like that's all we need. We'll take just that, please. But it's like Apple's not wrong that USB-C is the future. It's like when they started removing the headphone jack, but it's just like I understand what you're going for, but that sucks right now when I just want to be able to plug my SD card into my computer. But they just do
Hmm.
that. And it's like in 5 years or so, maybe even less, probably less than that, it's not going to matter, you know? It's just going to be the thing. Oh, you'll be fine with USB-C. But it's like, yeah, it does suck right now.
Yeah, people are still complaining about the headphone jack. It's like I want everything to be universal.
Hmm.
And as soon as the iPhones get USB-C, like I'm hoping that's when everything just goes USB-C
Yeah.
because flash drives are like becoming that. They totally have a vision for like the future, and I'd rather that we go towards that than the alternative.
Yeah. I respect Apple for a lot of stuff, but they're not really the innovators anyway. Like you're not really innovating when you're just locking capabilities out from your customers for stuff that's gonna make sense years down the line. But
I
like,
mean, they just kind of have like a clear vision, you know?
yeah, yeah, they do. But it's like they don't really need to. They're just in such a crazy state, right? Because they almost don't even have to market anything. Like they don't have to even. I didn't see. I don't know about you, but I didn't see any advertisements for the new MacBook. But it's like they don't even have to advertise at this point. It's like it's made for professionals anyway, at least the Pro. So it's like everyone who wants to go drop a minimum of $2,400 already is gonna in the know to go out and buy it already. So it's just so crazy that like they're so big and they have such a crazy amount of like brand loyalty and brand recognition that they can just drop this new thing and they're just like, yeah, just send it out. We don't even have to advertise it because everyone's just gonna go buy it anyway.
And if you're buying a new laptop anyway, like you're probably thinking more towards the future anyway. Like you can afford to buy a dongle or like
Yeah.
a like an external card slot.
hmm The other thing with Apple is like I'm never gonna get a MacBook or like a Mac or even an Apple Watch because like it's just you just get more and more locked into it and like even with the card now, the Apple Card, it's like the more Apple things you buy, they all work together, which is cool, but it's like then it's just like you're afraid to leave the ecosystem because you're going to lose that viable functionality that is actually worth something. It's useful, but it's like if I just never even have that functionality in the first place, then it's like I don't have to worry about it.
In some ways, Apple, like if you get locked into the ecosystem, all their stuff works really well together. And in a lot of ways, they're kind of making it easier to work with different operating systems and like work in between them. So, but at the same time, they do want to keep people
Yeah.
in the system, man, in the operating system.
The
But I
operating
mean, if
system
it
of
works well
life.
together, I would have never bought an iPhone until like the 10s came out and they really started working on like iOS.
hmm
Like iOS 13's like awesome,
Yeah.
like mint. And I don't know, it's kind of got me thinking, is it really bad to be locked into an ecosystem if like that's what the future should be? I really feel like they're working towards they don't like throw anything in that you don't need. It's all about like ease of use. And
hmm
when you're using like an Apple product, you just kind of forget that you're holding a device or that you're using a computer.
Yeah.
Like it's all just seamless.
Yeah. Which there
And
are pluses and minuses to that.
I mean, like they have like the home feature built in to where you can like control lights from your phone. Like it's all through Apple. And if the future is just all Apple, like if you just have all Apple everything, like if they're the ones innovating in all this new tech that people want, then would that even be so bad if just the only thing we have is Apple? I mean, they're already like the richest company in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just think they're going to take advantage of us, though, if it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what you're saying. I get what you're saying with how the more people that are implemented into it, like the Apple ecosystem, the more everything just works better. It's kind of the same thing with how, like, if all the cars on the road were autonomous, then theoretically you wouldn't ever have any more car crashes unless there was a malfunction with it. But it's like, if that ever happens with cars, I think there needs to be like a proprietary way that all cars communicate that is outside of like certain brands of cars, so that it's like, okay, this is the thing that everyone shares. So whether you're riding in a Chevy like autonomous car or a Ford, like they can just communicate with each other. So
Hmm.
everything just works no matter what. Because that's just going to fuck everything up if 10 years down the line when all you're buying are like electric autonomous cars, if they can't communicate, then it's like, what's the point? We're never going to get to like that futuristic point where you get in the car and there isn't even a steering wheel. It's just two seats facing each other and everyone rides in their little pod and goes places and doesn't even worry about the road.
Hmm. Android and iOS, you're going to find the same functionality just on either side or like any operating system. I think technology is all moving towards everything's so advanced and it's getting to the point where you can do practically everything on every system. And they're either going to have their own version of the same function basically,
Mm,
or they're going to work together. And you do see Apple moving towards they don't want to have just locked down, like you can't use it with anything else, you can't plug in a thumb drive, like you
mm,
can do all that now. So I don't think they want to like lock down, and they definitely can't if they want to actually be like useful,
mm-hmm.
because old Apple used to be all about it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
But like that really doesn't work unless if you're like completely in the ecosystem.
Well, that and like I think because yeah, like you're right. The way it used to be with Apple is there are just certain things that you can't do, and it's like that's too bad. You knew what you were getting when you were getting an iPhone. They're getting towards the point now where like iOS 13 has the Files app where it's a dedicated file browser, like file manager, and like I never even imagined that that would be a thing on an iPhone.
Hmm. I guess like everything needs to be universal or have like its own. Everything has its own functionality.
Yeah.
Like you can get the same apps on any device, and that's why I kind of like the Surface line.
Yeah,
Windows
those are
stopped
clean.
making they stopped making phones because
Hmm.
that just kind of blew up. Like no one was making apps for them, but now they kind of have their own like Microsoft Store for Windows 10,
Mm.
where you can get a lot of mobile apps built for it. I mean, as long as people are like developing these apps to run on different systems, it'd kind of be nice if everything was universal. But we're not going to have that because all these systems started out separately.
Yeah.
Like you had your Windows operating system, Android came up, and iOS, and they started out just completely separate from each other. They couldn't interact with each other, and like when you're developing apps, you had to develop for each one,
Yeah.
and they're kind of hindered in that way because they're never going to be the same thing. Developers are always going to have to make apps or programs for different computers
Mm.
because they're all different. But at least the functionality is still there where no matter what you use, it's all practically going to be the same because you can do the same things on all of them.
Yeah.
I think that's what the future is all about. No matter what you pick up, like it's completely able.
Yeah.
Like processors are getting faster so that just like a little tablet, like the Surface line, they're starting to have like desktop level performance,
Yeah.
especially like the iPad.
Yeah, the iPad Pro is cool. If I was in the market for a tablet, the iPad Pro is fucking cool. But like, I don't know, the only thing I would use it for is just content consumption. But like when you were talking about apps earlier, it was making me think of, do you remember when Windows 8 came out? Like it's gotten a lot better with Windows 10, but like I remember when Windows 8 first came out and it was like they didn't know if they wanted it to be a desktop operating system or a mobile operating system. So you would have like the new Metro UI versions of things that were also just the old Windows 7 UI, and it was so terrible because like control panel used to just always be like the settings for everything in your computer. And then it came out and it's like now we have the settings app, but also you can still go to control panel. And then it was just so weird when like you'd be in Metro UI doing stuff and you would click something that would route you over to the old Windows 7 UI, and it was so weird. But it's like now they're kind of getting different enough to the point where like you have control panel, which is like your really deep settings, but then you also have the Windows settings app, and they kind of do different things, so it doesn't really matter anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
I just thought about that. Like I just remember Windows 8 being I mean, not only was it just terrible for like multitasking and shit cuz it basically was a mobile operating system, but like
For a desktop,
yeah, like I just remember
I
that
guess.
being such a weird transitionary period for Windows. Like it was just there was so many conflicting things that all did the same thing, but they were like hidden in different things that looked different and like didn't talk to each other for no reason.
Mm-hmm. I feel like they just had like a failed plan because they wanted to go with their phones. They tried that out
Mm,
and just that didn't work out. I feel like they're kind of in a phase now where they're just trying to like kind of get into that market. They're trying to like get everything sorted out before they got back into the mobile space.
mm.
And now with the Surface Neo coming out, where it's like kind of a phone, it would be totally cool. That one's based on Android though.
Yeah, it is.
Like I would like Windows to totally just go their own route and just have their desktops, have their laptops, and also just start making phones.
Mm,
Because if they could get them all to communicate together, unlike what Windows 8 did, it would be totally awesome. And then there'd just be like a whole nother player. Because
yeah.
it's always been Google, Apple, and Microsoft.
Mm,
But Microsoft just is kind of like only desktop.
yeah.
But I definitely like what they're doing with the Surface line.
Mm,
And Windows 10's pretty awesome.
yeah. The new Surface line is cool. Like the thing that kind of sucks about being into tech, but like you're not rich is like I have my cool laptop and you have your cool laptop and we both have our cool desktops, but it's like technology is just it's in such a cool place right now because you're getting all these new things like folding phones and stuff, which are all interesting because they're different. When I saw that the new Surface line reveal or whatever, where they showed off all the different stuff they had in the line, it's like, oh, the new Surface laptop looks so cool, and the Neo and Duo all look cool, but it's like I'll never get to try those out, you know? But it's like
Yeah.
everything is just in a point where like laptops are so good now. They used to be weird and they batteries were small and they sucked and they were always like really slow. But it's like we are in kind of a new emerging renaissance of like phones are getting awesome, like the cameras in them are badass, and now laptops are just awesome. They're like an extension of your workstation that you have for your
Hmm.
desktop.
It's all about ease of use. Like the day that picking up a tablet and just using it is as easy as like picking up a piece of paper and drawing. It can be a calculator, it can be a piece of paper, but you don't even ever feel like you're just using a computer, you know,
Yeah.
having to type in like commands. Like that will just
Yeah.
be not heard of anymore. Everything's just super easy to use.
Yeah, which like that's what Apple has always been going for, just the ease of use. I don't know if it was Tim Cook, it might have been, but there was that one like high up dude at Apple that was saying like they always want the smaller and like more condensed thing that they have to take on or to replace the other things. So like they're releasing all these new updated versions of like the iPad, the iPhone, and the MacBooks and stuff, but theoretically they want the iPad to eventually surpass the MacBook, and then theoretically at another certain point they want the iPhone to surpass the iPad. And it's like they used to do things like that back in the day before it was possible. So like you would have sort of weird functionalities on the old iPads and the old iPhones where like they were pushing for it to be a computer replacement, but it couldn't do anything that a computer can do, mainly limited by how shitty mobile processors were back then. But now I kind of see that being a feasible thing where you don't have a laptop or a desktop. You have an iPad that's just fast enough to run desktop versions of apps to do everything you need it to do, you know?
Hmm. We're at like a big phase right now where mobile processors are getting to be really powerful, and to where like you won't even need, hopefully one day you won't even need like a big desktop. I think that's the vision that Apple has. They're all about like no cooling, power efficiency.
Yeah.
I think they just want to make tech light to use, because right now, honestly, I really wish I had like an iPad, because I honestly feel like I could get more done on it. Like just having something to be lighter and more friendly to use, to where you can hop on it and get work done on it, but
Yeah.
you don't even feel like you're doing work because it's all just intuitive like that.
Mm.
Especially since we're used to like touching our phones, I feel like I could get more done with that rather than like a clunky desktop.
Yeah, like I feel like they're really pushing for that, and it's going to be exciting to see what the iPad Pro becomes in like the next generation or the one after maybe, because they have the intuitiveness of it down to such a point. They just need to give it the ability to do more things like edit, have a desktop version of like video creation apps and like Photoshop and stuff, because the way you use an iPad is like you just toss it on your bed and then you pick it up, tap the screen. It's got face unlock, so you swipe in and then, you maybe go to YouTube, watch some YouTube videos, and then while you're just sitting in bed, you just swipe home and then go to Photoshop and like edit up some pictures or edit a video or whatever.
Hmm.
Like it can do everything, or it will be able to in a really efficient way.
I guess it's always been like that was the end goal, you know? When
Mhm.
computers first started out, they took up a whole room. They were super expensive. They weren't power efficient. They weren't powerful at all. But now everything's just kind of getting more condensed, more efficient, and way faster at like an exponential level.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the end goal is for computing. I'm guessing like when will it stop? When, I mean, processors can only get like so small and efficient.
Yeah.
But the day that, I think that's the end goal, honestly. I think the day that you can pick up a computer and you have nothing to say about it, like you don't even feel like you're using a computer,
Yeah.
like you're just using a tool and you have no complaints about it. It's fast enough, it's power efficient, and
Mhm.
you won't even have to think about the specs. That's why Apple, they don't really brag about the specs.
Well,
They're more
because
about the
specs never
user
really mattered
experience,
for them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I
Because
think,
that's not what's important in like the big picture. I feel
yeah.
like Apple's always been big picture about that stuff.
Hmm. I mean, there's a reason why they're like the richest company in the world. They're kind of good at thinking up like a really good roadmap for where they want their company to be in X amount of years, and then just like getting everyone in the company on board and just pushing for that idea like full force, you know? And
Hmm.
usually they have a good end goal in sight, like good as in monetarily wise for them, like for the company. They're usually good at finding a good end goal and then just realizing it.
I mean, do you think like anyone would use a desktop if they could get everything they did on their desktop done, including like gaming and like high performance rendering? If they could get all that done on something as small as an iPad or a tablet,
Yeah,
like, do you
they
think anyone
would.
would use a desktop?
No, they would use what's easier and more intuitive.
Hmm.
And
Like, you just reach out and grab it, and
yeah,
I mean, I definitely agree with that. Just because, like, even with my laptop, like I was talking about, like, I feel like I could get more done on an iPad, and I'd use it more often because it's easier to use.
yeah, it's a weird thing. It's like as of now, the technology that we have can't do all those things. You kind of do have to have separate things that you use for separate tasks, at least if you want to be able to do it the best way. I think there's slowly a lot of things right now that are getting better on their own that in a couple years time they're all just going to pair together and you're going to have things like the iPad that will
Right.
just be your everything. Like batteries are getting so much better and wireless charging is getting so much better. So it's like you're probably going to get to a point where your iPad can last for like a couple days or something crazy or like a week without charging, and then it's like you don't have to worry about these cables and everything. It's like you go to bed and you just sit it on your nightstand that already is an entire like wireless charging coil, you know? So you just sit it
Mm,
down and you don't even really you're not thinking about charging it. You're not thinking about when you need to charge it next. It's just the way that you use it is supporting using it even more, you know?
hmm. Like, the first people to be into computers were like the nerds who like knew how it worked and they knew how to use it because not everybody could use it. But yeah, the future's all about anybody could pick up any piece of technology and they'll know how to use it because it's just all intuitive and it's designed to be easy to use.
Hmm.
And they can get the full like functionality. They just use it for what they need it for, and it's just a tool in that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were messing with like using your phone as just the base of operations, and you would just plug it into like a monitor because that's the only thing you would need a bigger device for. If it was completely powerful enough to do everything you need it for, and it's power efficient, like you would just need a bigger screen.
Yeah.
Like you might just have your large screen, your medium sized screen, and then just like your mobile phone screen.
Yeah.
But if everything's just powerful enough to handle everything, you would probably only need that one device.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the future. I think Apple had like a patent where you can drop your iPhone in to like a laptop frame,
Yeah, I
and
think they did have that.
yeah, you would just use it as like the touchpad, but it basically powers the whole thing. And Samsung Dex, it's just like a desktop experience. It's just in a phone.
Yeah, I
Because
think
that'd be nice. Like you just carry around your little card with you. And that's just all your computing needs.
yeah. Like I think you could even do it in a really creative way where like you build a phone and say, I don't know the exact like business model, the way that they would sell it, but like you were saying, you have your small, medium, large screen. And so you have this phone in it. You have this phone and inside of it is just a really, really good processor. But when it's running on phone battery, it's just under throttled and it'll still do everything that a phone needs to do, but it's just not the full processing power. And then you sit down at your computer, sit it on your little wireless charging pad so it has constant power, and then it can upvolt the CPU to do like full desktop application stuff. And then like it just works like that. You don't have to ever think about a desktop. And like that answers the question of if the phone would be good enough to handle like desktop class processing needs, So you just undervolt the CPU, then when you plug it into your big screen, it's getting constant power so it can run the CPU at full force, and then that's just your little mobile
Hmm.
computer that you hook into everything.
And like even all apps would like scale down to be like a mobile interface.
Hmm.
and then like as soon as you need it on like a bigger screen, you can use it in that desktop form. Even though like the idea of like desktop and laptop, hopefully that kind of mindset starts to go away if we're living in this future that we're talking about. Because if you could only use like one operating system and like you just got to know that and you totally knew how to use it and all your files were in one place, even like that would be the best thing to do. That'd be totally awesome.
Yeah.
Because then you wouldn't have to worry about how do I use this. You wouldn't have to learn any new things. It would just be all there. And yeah, you just have your little phone on you. But it's not even like your phone. Like that's just your whole computer. Like everything you need is in that. All your files are in that. And then yeah, you just plug it into a bigger screen and it all scales up and you
Yeah.
can get like a heavy duty task done.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about like anything, like different operating systems. How do I transfer files between these?
Yeah.
You just have one. Everyone just has one computer. The only
Yeah.
thing about that is like what happens when it dies. Like, would you just like lose your files? But we have so many things pushing for cloud
Yeah.
computing and cloud storage to where we probably wouldn't have to worry about that either.
Yeah. There, I mean, there would be redundancies that would take care of questions like that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
once everything's in the cloud, you drop your phone, which is your access to everything, then you just buy a new one or get it fixed or whatever, and then all your stuff was in the cloud anyway. It's like there is a point in the future where you might have everything, like even your processing power running from the cloud, but it's like at least now, like right now, what's feasible right now is that you would just have all your data there. So it's like you drop your phone in water, you drop your phone, whatever it breaks, you just get a new one, and then you still have access to all your data.
yeah, like everything's just right there. And especially when 5G rolls around, you won't even have to think like you won't have to think in terms of local storage versus cloud storage anymore. It'll
Hmm.
just be the storage.
Yeah.
Like you might have some storage on your phone, but the connection between that and the cloud and any different servers is going to be so fast that you won't even have to think about like downloading or uploading anymore.
Hmm.
It'll just be all there. And yeah, you get a new phone and you're just tuned in. You know, it's just your little antenna to the cyber world, man. That's really cool, honestly. I feel like I could totally get on board with that if that was like a concept.
Yeah.
And also, like, people are afraid of like cloud storage and like Google stealing all your data,
Yeah.
Google knowing everything about you, which they already do, so it's
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the newer generations, they're not going to care about that, I feel, unless if they're like woke AF.
I already don't give a shit about it.
Yeah, I mean, they know everything about everyone, so like, why are they going to care about you?
Yeah.